Ibn Ata'illah during this time was going through tremendous difficulties, and because of this experience in the lesson of Sheikh al-Mursi, he decided to visit him again in his home. When he met the Sheikh for a second time, the Sheikh told him the following. He said, every Muslim will be in one of four states. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa sallallahu ala sayyidina rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. There was a great scholar of the Sharia named Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari, who was from Egypt. And he was a scholar who came from a family of scholars, but they were jurists. And the Sheikh was actually opposed to some of the groups during this time, and he would debate with some of the students of a great scholar named Sheikh Abbas al-Mursi. Sheikh Ibn Ata'illah decided to go attend the lesson of Abbas al-Mursi, and he found him to be extremely wise and to be someone who had a deep understanding of the Sharia. Ibn Ata'illah during this time was going through tremendous difficulties, and because of this experience in the lesson of Sheikh al-Mursi, he decided to visit him again in his home. When he met the Sheikh for a second time, the Sheikh told him the following. He said, every Muslim will be in one of four states. Either they will be in a state of blessings, or they will be in a state of trials, or they will be in a state of obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, or a state of disobedience of Allah. And the Sheikh al-Mursi began to give him advice that Ibn Ata'illah felt was really what he needed. Abu Abbas al-Mursi said, if you are in a state of blessings, the appropriate response is gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal. And if you're in a state of trials, the appropriate response is patience. And if you are in a state of obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal, the appropriate response is to see the blessing of Allah Azza wa Jal. Not to feel like you are the one who did X, Y, Z, but that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is the one who guided you. He is the one who facilitated for you to be obedient to Him. And then he says, if you are in a state of disobedience, the appropriate response is istighfar. Now, Sheikh Ibn Ata'illah al-Sakandari says that he spent the next 12 years learning from Sheikh Abu Abbas al-Mursi, and he says, during that time, I never saw him say or do anything that contradicted the Sharia. This story highlights that everyone will go through tremendous difficulties. And the Prophet ﷺ, he narrates so beautifully that مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُصِبْ مِنْهُ, which means if Allah Azza wa Jal wants good for you, He will cause musibas to happen in your life, meaning problems and difficulties and trial and pain. And we may think, this sort of sounds contradictory. If Allah Azza wa Jal wants good for me and loves me, why wouldn't He make my life easy? Why would He make my life difficult? Well, the Prophet ﷺ teaches us that this is a means of getting close to Allah Azza wa Jal. That this forces us to turn to Allah in dua, to turn with sometimes a broken heart. Some of the scholars also say, إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَطْوِيَ مَسَافَةَ الْبُعْدِ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِهِ سَلَّطَ عَلَيْهِ الْبَلَاءِ, which means if Allah Azza wa Jal wants to shorten the distance between Him and His servant, meaning if He wants to bring His servant close to Him, what will He do? He will cause difficulties and trials to happen in their life. Every one of us either went through problems, every one of us either experienced problems in the past, or are currently going through difficulties and trials, or will go through them in the future. The lesson that we take from Ibn Ata'illah's story is when we go through difficulties and trials, the appropriate response is patience, sabr. And the scholars, they say, sabr means doing three things. حَبْسُ النَّفْسِ عَنِ التَّسَخُّطِ بِالْمَقْدُورِ, which means when a difficulty happens and we want to be patient, the first step, the first pillar is to prevent the heart from disliking something that Allah Azza wa Jal decreed upon us. The second is habsul lisani an shakwa, which means to control the tongue from complaining and complaining, but rather to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. And the third pillar of sabr is habsul jawarihi anil ma'siyah, that we prevent our limbs and we control our limbs from sinning, meaning we don't let a problem or a trial cause us to drift away from Allah Azza wa Jal, but rather to realize that we are servants of Him, we are slaves, and that He is the one in control, and that perhaps there is a wisdom in this problem, in this difficulty that we don't know. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
If you like these videos, you can catch more of them at Safina Society's YouTube channel, and you could study with us online at arcview.org.